You can imagine the disappointment on a player when he's told that he's not good enough for Celtic. And then he gets told he's getting what he deems as his dream move to Italy, for that to then be scuppered at the last moment as he's on his way to the airport. And he's pretty much in the airport and he's ready to board a flight. But because of the injury again to Cameron Carter-Vickers, now I got slated a couple of weeks ago for saying this summer might be a good time to sell Cameron Carter-Vickers. And I was only reiterating what Big Chris Sutton said, due to the fact that he's not done it in the Champions League for us and that he seems to have an ongoing injury issue. Cameron Carter-Vickers is injured again, and that's the reason that Gustav Lagerbielke is not getting his move unless something drastically happens in the next 24 hours or so. Gustav Lagerbielke has pleaded with Celtic not to scupper what he classes as his dream move to Italian football. He's hardly kicked a ball since the first 7 games of the season, when I thought he'd done okay, apart from that sending off in the Champions League against Feyenoord. Brendan Rodgers has said that he wants to add quality to the squad, and he's basically had difficult conversations with players. Now, the fact that they've had that difficult conversation with Gustav Lagerbielke and told him, look, it's maybe best if you move on and you're not going to do it at Celtic, to that then be scuppered at the last moment. What does that do to a player? He has begged Celtic not to scupper this dream move as far as he's concerned. It was a loan deal with the option to buy. Celtic have put the brakes on over fears that Cameron Carter-Vickers has suffered another long-term injury, which is devastating for Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's just signed a new 5-year deal. Gustav Lagerbielke signed a 5-year deal in the summer and he was deemed not good enough. And Brendan Rodgers had what he called a difficult conversation. The player, Gustav said, he says, look, the Italian team have showed some strong interest in Gustav. He says, I want to go and play. I want to make a difference. All footballers have dreams of playing in big leagues. He said, I have dreamed of playing in Serie A since I was a child. Many Scandinavian footballers have played in Italian football. It would be an advantage in terms of me settling in, says Gustav Lagerbielke. The stoppers just made 9 appearances under Brendan Rodgers and scored a stoppage time Champions League winner. But remember, he scored the winner against Feyenoord in December. But he's only featured in the 3-0 away to St Mirren at the start of January. I feel sorry for Gustav because, let's face it, and we'll get on to the breaking striker news in just a minute, but getting told that you're not good enough for Celtic, deemed not good enough, Brendan Rodgers having that difficult conversation that he said that he would have with the players, telling the player it was maybe for the best that he moves on, and then because there's another injury to Cameron Carter-Vickers, that's it. No, you're not getting to go, lad. Sorry, but you said I wasn't good enough. You've got to make your mind up. You're either, I'm not good enough to play for you, and I need to go and get my career on track again, or you just keep me hanging about here, sitting on the bench. Come on, Celtic. Be a bit more, and I know we've got to look after ourselves, but to me, the player could just down tools now and say, no, I'm not going to play for you. Do you know, bugger it. Yeah, and that's the dog even thinks of that as well. Anyway, let's get on to a Republic of Ireland striker. Republic of Ireland striker with a surprise move to Celtic just before transfer deadline day. It's now been suggested that Celtic, Brendan Rodgers has been looking at the 22-year-old for a while. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I think it was a last-minute panic thing. The 22-year-old is on loan to the end of the season with an option to buy. Adam, who is on loan, is going to be on loan from Norwich, and Brendan Rodgers wants to secure this 22-year-old until the end of the season with an option to buy permanently, according to media sources. Now, that's the story all broke last night due to the fact that Norwich have agreed a deal in principle for the one and only Van Hooijdonk, Sidney Van Hooijdonk. Now, I did say that the Sidney Van Hooijdonk went to Celtic was all speculation. There had been no contact, and Fabrizio Romano even said, look, Celtic are interested, but there has been no contact. They were maybe interested in the situation because they wanted them to hurry up and move to Norwich so that Celtic could get their guy. Celtic are obviously eager to bring someone else in the current moment because we've only got Kyogo Furuhashi as the sort of main striker. O is going to be on international duty now for another week or so, as they got through. South Korea did get through. But Celtic are going for a player who has 20 Ireland caps. He's made 34 appearances for the English team this season, and he's now keen on a move to Celtic. Of course he is. Of course he is, because he's got a chance of winning something. And then maybe he wants to get one over his old teammate that's at the team across the city. He said, obviously, I want to move. He says the European options. He had European options. Like, he was getting chased out of Norwich. He wasn't deemed good enough for Norwich. And Celtic are going in for him. I did say that Celtic were never going to spend good money in this transfer window. They were never going to go and get a striker that was of any real quality. Let's face it. I mean, if he's playing down in Norwich and he's not getting a game down at Norwich, is it the type of player that we want to be bringing into Celtic? Tell me in the comments. It's all about the one Celtic fans' view, and we want to get your views in the comments section. Is that the type of player that Celtic really need to be bringing in? Bringing in a loan player to the end of the season, I can understand why they're doing that, but with the option to buy, I don't know. I don't know enough about the player. I'll admit, I don't watch a lot of international football, and I certainly don't watch English Championship games of football. Maybe I should do, because that seems to be where a lot of Scottish players are going. And talking about that, there's a few players that might be heading out of Celtic. We did speak about that last night. But with past injuries at Celtic, with the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers, I do feel really sorry for Gustav Lagerbielke. It's a bad situation. Celtic need to make their mind up. The boy isn't good enough, and Brendan Rodgers did say, he said, this is the ugly side of the job, having to sit down with players and just tell them, look, maybe you're not going to make it here. Maybe it's for the better if you move on. And then to pull the plug on what he deems as his dream move to Italian football, because Cameron Carter-Vickers gets injured and he's going to be sitting on the bench. You know, they've probably had a conversation with him saying, yeah, you'll get right into the first team. Anyway, it's a funny old mess, and it's a funny transfer window. The lack of transfer activity over the last couple of weeks looks it's all going to heat up today and tomorrow. There'll be several players that will leave Celtic, and one player that will not be coming is obviously Sidney van Hooijdonk. And I did thought that one was a no-starter due to the fact that he has not played for his current team. And there we go. We're now bringing in a player that is not wanted to be his current team. It's a funny old game, football, isn't it? Mark Hendry said last night, he said, Sidney van Hooijdonk agrees deal with Norwich. They were unwilling to sanction the Adam hashtag Celtic loan until they got a replacement secured. Now that's sorted. There's no more roadblocks. And there's a few publications going with the no more roadblocks for Celtic striker. Come on, Celtic. We need to up the game a bit, surely. There's a league title to play for. And anyway, that's enough of the Celtic news this morning. We'll do a live in a couple of hours just to see if there's any update. There's going to be quite a few lives over the next couple of days because the situation is changing all the time when it comes to Celtic news. It is changing all the time when it comes to Celtic news, so make sure that you check out the community tab. If you haven't checked out the community tab, it's funny because people come into the channel and say, crazy stuff in the community tab, and then anyway, we move on. On that note, have a fantastic morning, and I'll see you on the live in just a few hours.